Hi guys, it is Mrs. Olson here for our last week of second grade. How crazy is that, you guys? I just can't get over it. So anyway, I figured for our last week we could just do a book review to sort of wrap up and to give each other some ideas for what we could read for our summer reading. Okay, I do not want you guys to lose all of that, all of those reading skills that you guys worked so hard on this year. You guys made so much progress and moved up so many levels. And if you keep reading over the summer, you'll keep moving up levels. And when you come back in the fall to school, who knows what level you'll be on? It'll be amazing. So let's talk about the parts of a book review. So you should have already seen that video. That's sort of an example of a book review. And I'm going to just go over pretty quickly how you would go about writing a book review. So the parts of a book review are, first you do what's the title and who is the author. That's pretty basic. Then what kind of a book is it? So here you can sort of be a little creative. You can decide whether you think it's an adventure book or a funny book or a scary book, or if it's a nonfiction book, you could say that. So just deciding what generally kind of a book is it. Then the trickiest part is kind of this one, where after that you tell a little bit about the book, but you have to be careful not to give anything away, because we want people to still be surprised, and we want people to still be able to read the book on their own, and make their own opinions about it. So just a little bit about the book without telling the ending. So you're going to tell who the characters are and what they mostly do in the book. Then last is your actual recommendation part, which is where you say, yes, I think people should read this book, or no, I don't think people should read this book. And then if you said you think people should read it, what ages or grades do you think this book is best for? So let's hop on, and I have already posted 2 examples of book reviews so that you guys can have those examples when you're writing. But let's just go through how I decided to include the information I did. So my first book was this one. Let me get it close. The Tale of Despereaux. And this book is by Kate DiCamillo. She's one of my very favorite authors. I love her. And I think some of you guys have read a different one of Kate DiCamillo's books. They're great. So when I went to do my review, obviously, then we do the first step is the title and the author. So I read The Tale of Despereaux by Kate DiCamillo. Then I had to decide what kind of a book this is. So in this book, and if you've seen the movie, that it's the same thing. In this book, it's mostly about Despereaux going on an adventure, so that's how I decided it was going to be an adventure book. You could also call this kind of a love story. It's also a little scary sometimes. So there are lots of different things that you could say about this book, but I decided that it's mostly an adventure book. So that's what I'm going to go with, because you want to keep it simple. You don't want it to be too long. So then you say the main characters of the book, and that was pretty easy because all you have to do is, read your book to know who the main characters are. So the main characters in this book are Despereaux the mouse, Rescuro the rat, P the princess, and Meg, who is a servant girl. That's simple enough. And then the trickiest part was this part, where you just have to think of like 1 or maybe 2 sentences that tell what your book is mostly about. And I was able to do it in 1 sentence. So really, that's your goal, because you just don't want to say very much about what happens in the book because you want people to be surprised. So all I said was, in this book, Despereaux the mouse falls in love with the princess and goes on a long adventure to keep her safe. So I didn't say, look how long this book is. I didn't say most of what happens in this book because it's super long. It would take me forever to talk about all the things that happen in this book. And I want people to enjoy it and not be bored because they already know what's going to happen, So it's 1 sentence that says mostly what happens is Despereaux falls in love with the princess and goes on an adventure. Okay? Think really broad. That means think 1 sentence that explains what happens. Okay? And then the last part is the actual recommendation part, which is, do you think other people should read it, and who do you think the book is best for? So this is a really great book for kids who love animal stories or princess stories. It can be a little scary, so it is probably best for kids who are in 4th or 5th grade. Okay? So I said why I think that it should be best for kids who are in 4th or 5th grade, but then, because then that also tells people that if you're in third grade or second grade, but you think that you'd be okay with a little bit of scariness in your books, then you could still read this. And so that helps people understand a little bit why you're saying that. Okay, so that was pretty simple. You just go through, and most of this information you should already have. It shouldn't take you guys a long time to do these. So then the other example I did post was a nonfiction, because this is a little bit different, just slightly different if you're going to do a nonfiction book. So this one is called What If a Shark Had a Party? And it is by Alexei Bitskov. So obviously, again, that's the first thing I did right here, was post what my title and the author, which is down at the bottom of my book. So you just have to find your title and author and put it. Then for my second part, so remember the second part is what kind of a book is it? For the second part, I put that it's a funny nonfiction book, because it's nonfiction, which means it's all facts about sharks, but it's also a little funny, and so I explain why. So then in the, what is this book, part 3, tell a little bit about the book without giving anything away. This book asks silly questions about sharks doing people things like having a party, or could a shark play on a seesaw? This book is funny and a little weird, but it is interesting and has lots of shark facts. So there, when you're reviewing a nonfiction book, you really want to tell what the book is focused on. So mainly this book tells about sharks, which I said, and then you want to tell what kind of information you're going to get, because there are lots of different nonfiction books about sharks. There are so many in the world, but this one asks silly questions. So you want to say what makes your book, your nonfiction book, different from all of the other books about sharks or whatever. So just tell a little bit about, is it funny? Does it tell a lot of facts? Is it kind of serious? Just give us a little bit of information. So instead of telling about characters, you're just telling a little bit more about the book. And you also don't have to worry about spoiling anything, because it's a nonfiction book. You're not really going to spoil any endings. And then at the bottom, again, I put my recommendation. This book would be great for kids who love sharks. I think this book is best for kids who are in grade 2 to grade 5. Okay? So in your recommendation section, that's where you want to say, this book is great for kids who love sharks. Or like in Tale of Despero, I said it's really great for kids who love animal stories or princess stories. So you kind of want to tell people, if you like scary stories, you should read this book. If you like books about fairies, you should read this book. If you like books about cats, you should read this book. Okay, so you really want to tell people whether they should read it or not. Okay, so this is the last thing you guys are going to do for reading in second grade. Crazy. But I'm going to collect all of our book reviews, and I will send everybody's parents, hopefully if I can figure out how to do it, I will send everybody's parents a picture of all of the books that we reviewed, and you guys can look through and see if the library has any of these books over the summer for you to check out and look at, or look on Epic. So when you're picking a book to review, you can review any of the books we've read this year. Like we read Mercy Watson, and we read Leroy Ninker, and we've read Frog and Toad. So any of those books you could review. You could pick one on Epic and you could review it. You could review a book that you already have at your house. It could be any book. Just pick a book that you think other people might want to read while they're on summer vacation, including me. You never know which books Miss Wilson is going to pick to read this summer. So recommend some good ones to me. I'm looking. All right, guys, go pick your book, get to work, write me a review so I know what I should be reading this summer. Bye, guys.